Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the deep, biological and psychological realities of true personal change. We're going to explore how transformation actually works, peeling back the layers on that intense struggle between our ego and our desire for growth. And this is the really cool part, how we literally rewire our brains in the process. Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever experienced that moment? You look in the mirror and maybe it's not a sense of total failure that hits you, but just this quiet, persistent feeling that something fundamental has gone missing. It's a profound disconnection between who you currently are and who you know you could become. Well, that exact moment, that strange, heavy mixture of profound awareness and deep discomfort, is exactly where self-transformation truly begins. Section 1. The illusion of sudden change. We absolutely love the narrative of a single magical breakthrough, right? The movie montage where everything just clicks overnight. But the reality is, true transformation is a silent psychological revolution on the inside, before anything ever shifts on the outside. Like your career, your daily habits, or your relationships, you first have to challenge the invisible architecture of your life. It's not just about deciding to do different things, it's about perceiving the entire world through a completely different lens. A massive part of this internal architecture is made up of what we call invisible scripts. Think of these as the background code running your life, formed by your family, your culture, and your earliest childhood experiences. They create these quiet psychological walls that completely dictate what we think is possible for us. They sound like, "I'm not good enough," or "people like me just don't succeed," or even "it's way too late to start over." They sound totally harmless and logical in our heads, but these childhood programs are literally running the show. Simply becoming aware of these patterns, just noticing that the walls are actually there, is your very first act of rebellion. Section 2, the ego and deep discomfort. Now, what's really interesting about this is how we need to completely reframe why this process hurts so much. When you try to change a habit, say waking up earlier or eating better, you feel this immense, heavy resistance. You might think it's just laziness, but it's not. It's homeostasis. Your mind actually experiences acute discomfort when you act out of alignment with who you subconsciously believe you are, and it frantically tries to pull you back to restore the old balance. See, the ego's ultimate goal is simply to maintain stability and familiarity, but the mind's growth, that inherently requires chaos and friction. Most of us want the amazing reward of change without the messy friction that makes it possible. But that deep discomfort you feel just means the old self is finally losing control. Your inner system is desperately trying to hold on to familiarity, even when that familiarity is the exact thing suffocating you. Section 3. Rewiring through neuroplasticity. Let's look at how this internal struggle plays out on a biological level. Through the magic of neuroplasticity, every single time you consciously challenge an old belief, your brain literally begins to change its wiring. Transformation isn't just some abstract philosophical idea, it is actual neurobiological construction. You are physically reshaping your own mind. New neural connections form while the old neglected ones weaken. The brain physically adapts to the new experiences and thoughts you're feeding it. And as you actively change that wiring, you're going to encounter cognitive dissonance. This is that intense, squirmy discomfort you feel when your new actions and your old beliefs just don't align. Most people try to resolve this tension by abandoning their new actions and rushing right back to their old comfortable habits. But successful transformation requires doing the exact opposite. You have to sit in that friction and endure that weird in-between phase until your beliefs finally evolve to match your new actions. So the crucial point is the distinction between pretending and embodying. Pretending relies on forcing new behaviors with sheer willpower. You might say, "I want to be confident," but subconsciously, you still see yourself as insecure. Willpower almost always fails here because your subconscious doesn't buy the performance. It knows the old script way too well. Embodying, on the other hand, is shifting the underlying identity first. Once your identity shifts, the new behavior becomes entirely natural. Section 4. Navigating the liminal phase. We call this the liminal phase, that messy middle ground where the old identity is gone, but the new one hasn't quite solidified yet. And the journey is rarely a straight line. Progress is usually followed by intense doubt, a little bit of regression, eventual clarity, and finally, renewal. It actually perfectly mirrors Joseph Campbell's famous hero's journey. You leave the comfort of the familiar, face your inner trials, and return totally transformed.
This nonlinear cycle is uncertain, it's super uncomfortable, and it is absolutely necessary for rebirth.
During this liminal phase, whether you're quitting a job, moving to a new city, or ending a relationship, a very specific region of your brain called the default mode network kicks into absolute overdrive. It's actively working to rewrite your personal narrative. When these thoughts are repeated and emotionally charged, the network embeds these new stories neurologically. Belief isn't just a fleeting thought. It literally turns into a measurable physical pattern of neural firing in your brain. Section 5, Radical Honesty and Integration. The absolute foundation of this entire process is truth. You simply cannot become someone new while lying to yourself about who you currently are. This is exactly why self-compassion is scientifically required for growth. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens. When you approach your own discomfort with curiosity instead of shame, your amygdala, which is your brain's fear center, literally calms down. This directly opens up access to your prefrontal cortex, which expands your capacity for reasoning and long-term growth. Basically, when you stop attacking yourself, you shift your brain activity to actually allow for integration. The psychiatrist Viktor Frankl captured this perfectly when he said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Transformation is never about self-attack. It is about self-reconciliation. It's a profound shift in meaning that gives our pain a purpose. Understanding that while our control over the external world is pretty limited, our capacity for internal evolution is infinite. Section 6, The Miracle of Micro-Revolutions. Let's move on and see how this builds in the real world. Transformation doesn't happen in grand, sweeping declarations. It happens through tiny, continuous choices and environmental design. Psychologically speaking, your physical environment mirrors your identity. You simply cannot plant new seeds in toxic soil. If you want to change, you have to actively remove the triggers of your past self and surround yourself with people and cues that reflect your potential, not just your history. Every single sensory input is constantly shaping your neural wiring. Ultimately, transformation is not a single breakthrough. It's an ongoing, lifelong conversation with yourself. It's the gradual, quiet realization that you've outgrown an old version of yourself without even trying to forcefully destroy it. It's a quiet miracle where you finally stop pretending to be something you're not, and you just come home to who you really are. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. What invisible walls are you currently accepting as your reality, and what will you choose to see clearly today? Awareness is the bridge between what was and what will be. Your own silent revolution begins the exact moment you honestly answer that question. Thanks so much for learning with me today.